There it is.
Nick Giannakos of the Wretch. Welcome
Yes,
to
sir.
69 Face of Rock. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Good to see everybody out there.
First of all, congratulations on this new album. It's absolutely fabulous record.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it.
Nick, how did you get started on the new album?
Um, well, I'm the main songwriter as far as music goes for the band. I have been forever.
Mhm.
So when we were done with the last album, we came back, we did the European thing, played some shows here. We were switching drummers again, of course. And I had the album written for a while. Um, I'm trying to think the timeline here. If I'm not mistaken, COVID hit,
Yes.
screwed everything up for everybody, including us. Because the album, I had the songs written for years. As far, I think they were done for like 2 years. And we really didn't have much going on because of COVID. Everything was shut down. In the meantime, Jeff had left the band. He just didn't want to play this type of stuff. He plays locally in like a country band, and that's where he makes a lot of money. And I get it, all good.
Mhm.
So I it took me forever to find another drummer that was interested in playing this type of stuff. Around here, power metal isn't a big deal, not a lot of people into it. And I actually found a guy that I went to school with uh, that he is in another band, and he was like, yeah, I'd be interested in doing it. So he came out, checked out the stuff, and was like, yeah, let's do it. So we recorded, finally got it out. In the meantime, the other problem was that Pure Steel Records closed,
Mhm.
so we lost our record deal. So the album was recorded because I have my studio here, actually on the other side of this computer, is where my studio is, and we recorded everything. The thing was done, mixed, mastered, the whole thing, and I had no label to put it out. I kept shopping it, shopping it. Finally, I found Arcane Steel out of Athens, Greece, or actually Thessaloniki, Greece,
Mhm.
and he said he wanted to put it out. So thank God the guy helped us out, and we put it out there, and there we
There
go.
it is.
There it is,
There
visitors.
it
I
is.
see it. I see it.
It seems like all of the songs, with exception of one, were written by you and Juan. How would you describe the dynamic the two of you share as composers?
I tell you, it's very easy, very nice. It's a very smooth thing. We've worked well together now. This was the third album that Juan's been on, and we've got a great working relationship. It's nice. Because like I said, what happens is my writing thing is this is how I always write. I'll write all the music, the guitar parts. I write them in my studio here. I'll put them to a click track. Then I'll send them to everybody. Here, Juan gets a copy of the songs. Mark, the drummer, the guitar player, the bass player, they all get copies of the songs. And I say, write your parts to this. If you want to change anything, we can change. If we want something shorter, longer, course, whatever, we can obviously change that. But here's the main structure of the song, and then everybody comes down with their parts ready to go. It's actually a pretty easy system that we have here, especially it helps that I have this recording studio here. So it makes everything easy. I don't have to go somewhere and pay somebody, and we're locked into a timetable and all that kind of stuff. We can take our time and fix stuff. If we don't like the way it sounds, we can change it, whatever we want to do.
The album sounds probably a lot better because of that
I think so.
looseness that
Thank
you
you.
have. Um, what got me from the first listen were the very rich textures. How long did you spend time on that aspect of your music?
I'll tell you, really the only thing that's changed is I've gotten better at my recording techniques because I
Mm.
record everything. I do everything myself. So over the last, I don't know, when did I build this thing? 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, maybe. I can't even remember now. Um, I've learned a lot of different recording techniques, how to get better tones, better, um, just everything's cleaner. I think my recordings are cleaner now, and the tones are better, just from experience, trial and error, going on YouTube, looking at guys, going, okay, how do they do that? How to get a better drum tone? because I'm not a drummer. I don't know what sounds good. I mean, I know what I like. I don't know how to get it, especially when we first started, I was like, I don't know how to do this stuff. It was all guesswork. Now, there's so many things on YouTube where you can learn and say, there's little tricks, mic placement and stuff like that. And it's helped a lot. As far for me anyway, it's helped me a lot on my recording abilities.
Yeah. Also, there are traces of like classical music in your passages. Is that something you do intentionally?
It's not intentional. I studied classical guitar when I was in high school for a couple years, and I love classical music, especially lute music,
Mhm.
and Baroque, Vivaldi, Paganini, violin concerto type stuff. So it comes out. It's unintentional. I think it's stuck in here, and it comes out in my writing. It's just that's the way it is. I don't intentionally go, all right, I want to structure this song so it sounds like a harmonic minor classical type sounding thing. It just that's what I hear in my head, so that's how it comes out.
It definitely enriches the music, and when I listened to it, I was thinking like, am I hearing this right, or am I making stuff up? So I figure I ask you best, and
Oh
and
yeah,
sure enough, you confirm that there is that influence somewhere in the
yeah.
background.
There's definitely an influence, and it's weird. For my day job, I have to have a day job. I drive truck.
Mhm.
And so luckily, I'm able to listen to music all day. And I'd say half the time I'm not listening to metal, I'm listening to classical music,
Mhm.
you know?
And it does show up later.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying the guitar dialogue between you and Mike. How would you describe the way two of you interact musically?
Well, first I wanted to say, Mike's no longer in the band. He left probably about almost a year ago now.
Mhm.
He lives about 4 hours away from the rest of us, and I think it became a little bit of a hassle.
Mhm.
I don't think his time he didn't want to do the time that much anymore. I think it just became too much for him, the traveling and everything. But that being said, me and Mike, he was one of my guitar students when
Mhm.
I was teaching when I was like 18, 19. He was in high school and he was my best guitar student by far. So when Wretch first broke up, we were out in LA, we broke up. Well, I moved back here and then we started putting things back together. I thought, well, I'm going to need another guitar player because the other guitar player that was in Wretch back then was out in California and he stayed out there. So I thought, why not Mike? He was my best student, my favorite student. The guy was just phenomenal. And so we've always had that rapport where we just always worked well together.
Mhm.
He was a great student and he always wanted to be, super good and always wanted to play complimentary to me and we worked great together. I miss the guy to be honest. He was a great guy and I wish him well. I haven't seen him for a while and I'm hoping he's doing okay.
Is there a replacement?
Yes, his name is Chris Westford.
Mhm.
And he's a great guy, phenomenal guy, and just another type of. I didn't know the guy real well. He was in another band that we played with. Um, where did we play? We did a show with the band that he was in up in Cleveland. I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I can't remember. And I talked to him there a couple times. He's actually from not too far from here, a town over for next town over, and he was working on some instrumental stuff that he was doing. Contacted me, said, "Hey, would you like to do a couple solos on it?" And we did, and yeah, Chris is just a super good dude, really good guitar player, and we've over the last year have gotten a really good working relationship, and so he's going to be on the next album.
Mhm. So tell me about the recording and the production process for visitors.
So, like I said, I have everything down here. We do all the drums live. They're all live drums. Um, so there's no on my end. There's no drum replacement. When I do send everything out to get mixed and mastered over to Germany. It gets mixed and mastered over there. But everything is live. We do everything down here. Now, my basement, which I'm in right now, is not soundproof. So, that being said, all the guitars are my amplifiers. I use my Angle amps, my Angle Powerball amps. And what I do is I run it through a torpedo uh, cab sim. So I can put an IR on it, which is an impulse response. If anybody's familiar with those things in the recording industry, they do. So that way, if my furnace kicks on, it's not picked up by a mic. If my dog comes down and starts barking at me, it's not picked up by a mic, you know? So everything's clean that way. The bass, I record two tracks, always try to record two stereo tracks, one from Tim's bass head and a direct clean. So there's always a stereo bass track in there. And then I did build, I know off to my left over here, there's a vocal booth, which is folded. It's plywood, three pieces of plywood that I can open up, and it's all padded inside. So it's an isolation vocal booth, so I can get clean vocals. And
Mhm.
that's it, man. Then I record everything. I do rough mixes here, and I send them over to Robert Romania that does our mixing and mastering. He's done the last three or four albums. I can't remember now. I'm not sure. And I go, hey, this is what I'm looking for. These are my mixes. I'm not. That's one thing aspect of my recording that I'm not great at. I'm not really great at mixing, and I'm horrible at mastering. So I don't attempt it. I know I'm not good at it, so I'd rather pay somebody to do that I know does a good job.
Yeah. Well, you certainly got good results out of this setup,
Thank you.
even with what it is.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you very much.
so let's talk about the song. So I'll give you a title, and you tell me a little bit about each track. So the album opens up with "In My Time of Reckoning."
Again, that one is one of the faster songs I think on there.
Mhm.
Trying to remember now. I haven't listened to it in a little while. Um, that one, stronger song. I like. I'm trying to remember what order I wrote these things in, so I can tell you how old it is approximately. But I'm
Yeah.
drawing a blank on how old the thing is because it's been so long since I wrote the songs. Um, and again, I don't do anything with the lyrics. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't pay attention to the lyrics that Juan writes. I more I pay more attention to the melody line that he sings,
Mhm.
to make sure because I have to when we're recording, I play my producer and say, hey, maybe if I don't like where the melody line is, I'd say, hey, try going up here or down here. But that song, again, I'm not even sure what that song's about because I don't know. I don't know. I'm
Just
trying to.
talk about them from your angle.
Yeah, again, a lot of guitar harmony stuff going on. It's weird when I write these things. I hear lots of parts. Trying to think how many guitar tracks are on that song.
Mhm.
Minimum three rhythm tracks, if not four, and at least solo tracks. I can't remember what harmonies are in there. Um, so there's probably at least six guitar tracks in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, what about the voice?
That we play live, so I'm pretty familiar with that because we've been playing it since we put the album out. That one has actually one of my favorite middle parts out of any song that I've ever written. The big grand middle part. There's big harmony guitars, very melodic. Again, that whole classical feel to it. Um, it's very, very cool. And Chris, like I said, Chris Westfall, the new guitar player, he's done a very, very, very good job of learning his harmony parts because there's a lot of like harmonized arpeggio sequences, harmonized runs, and especially in that song in that middle part, it's a lot of guitar work going on in there.
Yeah.
And like I said, one of my favorite middle sections of any song that I've written.
Chernobyl.
My favorite all over general, my favorite song
Mhm.
that I've ever written. Um, just all the harmony guitar parts again. There's a ton of harmony guitar parts. layered upon layered, harmony, arpeggio sequence in the middle, harmony, melody lines, everything. But just the way that song's structured, and I like the speed of it. It's a faster, super fast song. Probably my favorite song that I've ever written.
Hmm. Then you got Matt Butcher and Kingsbury Run, which features a written credit from Mike.
Mike, and great song, different, and then that's where you hear the difference. It's definitely a different type of song as opposed to how I write and stuff comes out of my head. But another fantastic song. Mike has always come up with really cool riffs. That intro riff is very cool, hard to play, very cool. It's different than something I would write, so it was actually difficult for me to do the harmony part for it. But and it was weird when Juan wrote the vocals for that. When me and Mike recorded it, we had everything flipped. We thought the verse sections that Juan thought were verse sections, we thought they were chorus. When we wrote it, we heard it as chorus sections. Juan wrote it as verse sections, and he wrote everything backwards. And he was like, when we were recording it, he goes, "Well, the chorus section," and then he went to sing over, and I go, "No, that's a verse." And he goes, "No, that's the chorus." And I was like, "Okay, no, that's not how we heard it," but it ended up working.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things where Mike and I, when we recorded the thing, we heard it as completely backwards than what Juan heard it,
At
which
the
was
end of the day, it makes sense.
it made total sense, and it worked, and we were like, okay, fantastic,
Yeah.
it worked, you
So
know.
the arrival features a special guest. You got Kevin Mazy, right? Who
Yes.
wrote and perform the track. How did this come about?
Okay, great question, great question. Everybody asked me about that thing. So first of all, Kevin Mazy, I've known him since I was 18 years old. He taught at the same music store. He taught keyboards and piano where I taught guitar at. So I've known him forever. I'm 59 or going to be 59, so I'm 58. So I've known him for 40 years. He's a local musician, probably the best keyboard player, not probably, is the best keyboard player around here. No, there's no doubt about that. I had an idea for the Visitors, the song, I didn't know what Juan was going to write the lyrics. Once I heard them and we started recording it, it's about alien visitors. I go, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm a big sci-fi nut. I like that stuff, so that's cool. The concept was very cool. I thought, well, when I wrote the song, again, it's a waltz. It's in 3/4 time. So it's a waltz. So 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2. So I thought it's a typical classical idea as far as timing goes. It needs. I heard harpsichord in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can't play keyboards. I can't do anything. I'm a guitar player. So I called my buddy Kevin, and he played on my instrumental album that came out, Nick Giannakos and the Alchemist. I don't know if you ever saw that or not. It was on Pure Steel Records. It was just a digital release.
Mm-hmm.
It's a full-length instrumental album, and he played the keyboards on it. So I called him. He came down. I kind of had some ideas. I found some classical pieces. I said something like this, So I gave him a direction because I couldn't play anything on a keyboard for him, so I couldn't play something for him to go, hey, do something like this. And then I just said, here, come up with, minute to a minute and a half intro to the song. And he wrote it, sent it to me. That was the first thing he sent me. I said, perfect. And that's what's on the album.
Yeah, that perfectly falls into Visitors, which was covered as well.
Yes.
So let's skip that and talk about Trapped in a Lucid Dream.
Another song that we added to the set when we played in Germany in March and the Netherlands. We were on tour for a little over a week. We needed another song off the album, so we added that one. Again, a very cool intro riff, I think. It's a faster intro riff, and then it goes to like halftime for the verses. That the chorus, the chords in the verses, one of those things where it's I don't want to say, I'm trying to think who I, I took it from, the idea from. A little bit of Stradivarius
Mhm.
in that song as far as how the chords go in the verses. They're very open, very ringy. I'm not sitting here picking everything, double time. It's just very open, ringy chords. So the vocals could be more open over it. So there's a lot of room for whatever Juan wanted to put over it. There was just a big open space there. So it was actually a little bit different, I think, than the other songs on the album.
That makes sense. Dystopia.
That song, you know what? Good question on this one. I'm a big Falconer fan.
Mhm.
And that song is, and I can't remember the name of the song that it's similar than. I got the idea just from the opening riff. It's a very similar riff from a Falconer song. And I can't remember which one. I just thought it was a cool. I took the idea that they had. It's not the same riff, obviously, but just the idea of what they did on this opening of this song that they did. I thought, man, that's a really cool, powerful intro to a song. How they started the song. So I thought, all right, I need to do something like that. I just thought it was a cool way to start a song. Um, and that's what I did on that. That's where that thing came from.
Mhm.
Um, I might have to talk to these guys about playing that live. I like that song.
And the album closes with Afghanistan.
Right. Again, cool song, different song, a little different than the other ones. Now that was, I do remember this, that was the last song I wrote in the order of when I wrote the songs for the album. I saw that we were going to be short, and I said, "Oh, I got to come up with one more song," and that was the last one I wrote. I actually like if I'm not mistaken, the ending of that song where Juan does like the whoa thing
Mhm.
over it and it fades out with that. He didn't have that written there. So when we were recording the song, um, he was done. He finishes the song, and I'm like, well, there's this big long fade out at the end here with nothing over it. And I thought, man, I hear something there. I said, Juan, why don't and again, I'm not a great singer. I can do backup vocals, so that's about it. I said, why don't you do like this whoa melody line over it? And I played it on guitar. I figured out what I had in my head going, played it on guitar for him, and that's where that melody line came at the end of the song, which I really thought was a cool way to end the album with a nice, cool. Some people like to sing along with some melody lines. If there's no words, you just sing "whoa" or whatever. And I thought, cool way to end the album with that as it fades out.
Definitely. Well, thank you for so many great insights when it comes to those songs.
Yeah.
Um, is there a theme that unites all of those songs?
As far as the music, no,
Mhm.
no. The only thing that unites them is they all came out of this head, except for the Mad Butcher song. Um, I know a lot of bands, they try not to say, well, I don't want to write the same type of stuff all the time. I can't help it. I know my stuff from 2 albums ago, the last album, then this one. They sound similar. The music is similar because it comes out of one head, you know? I don't have a problem with that as long as I don't start repeating
Mhm.
the same chord progressions or the same riffs. It's like I look at it this way: if you listen to the first, say, 4 Van Halen albums, you know it when they come on. It sounds like Van Halen.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem saying, well, my stuff sounds similar from album to album because it's to me. I go, well, that's an identifiable type of sound that we have. So I'm okay with it as long as, like I said, I don't start repeating stuff and they go,
Mhm.
hey, that sounds like the last song you did on the 2 albums ago. We don't want to do that, but as long as it sounds, I think if you're pretty consistent, I think I think it's a good thing. So you don't chase away the limited fans that we have. We're not a big band. I know where we're at. I don't want to start changing my writing style because maybe, okay, well, maybe we could be bigger if I don't write as, I don't know, as melodic or whatever. I just write how I write. Whatever comes out of my head, that's where it's at, and that's what I write. and it's been pretty consistent over the years, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you being sincere with what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about the artwork here, right? A very futuristic concept. So, tell me about it.
Oh, my buddy Joe DeFrank. It's funny. This guy, I haven't known Joe very long, probably about a couple years. He started, I was playing in a copy band, a hair metal band of all types of bands, locally up in Cleveland, just to make money on the weekends and just to stay active because, Wretch doesn't play out that much,
Mhm.
you know. And he started coming out to see us, and he introduced himself to me at one of our shows. And I guess he used to come to see Wretch back in the 80s, and I never met the guy before, and we became very good friends very quickly because we have the same types tastes in music. Um, and it was like we started, BSing at these shows, and we were like, man, I like these guys. Yeah, yeah, how about this? And it was like we liked the same bands. It was kind of cool. So when I was finishing up the recording of this thing, I needed artwork done, and he's really good with computer graphic stuff. Again, something I am not. So he was just messing around and started sending me these ideas he had for artwork. And that was like the second or third one he sent me. And I was like, dude, that's perfect. I, he goes, oh, he goes, I did it while I was at work, pissing around, and he did it on his computer at work and sent this stuff to me. And I was like, wow. So it was all his idea. I had nothing to do with it. He just somehow it was in his head. I did tell him probably it was going to be called Visitors. The title track was going to be Visitors, but I didn't have a concept as far as what I wanted the artwork to look like. That was all on Joe, and it was fantastic. The stuff he sent me, I was like, I'm blown away. This is great, and it was too easy, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So the album came out on Arcane Steel Records, right? And
Yes.
it appears to be a number edition.
Yeah, it's I Costa, he's the owner of the label. He does that with everything he releases. He hand numbers every CD. I don't know what that's about. But everything he puts out there, every CD he releases, whether it's a new band or he's re-releasing stuff, because I know his label re-releases a lot of unreleased things from the 80s and 90s from bands. But everything he puts out, he hand numbers every CD.
Mhm. So what reaction is the album getting so far?
So far, everything's been positive. The write-ups again, where you're by Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So I've never seen anything from the U.S. No write-ups from the U.S. Everything's been from overseas. We've had some from Poland, Italy, Germany. Uh, Trying to remember what everything came from, but it's usually an 8 out of 10. So everybody seems to like the stuff. Again, they do mention that it's the consistency of the writings, and I think they like that.
Mhm.
There's no, oh, now you guys sound like something completely different. No, it's the same stuff. We were the same band. And I think they maybe appreciate that. I guess is the way to put it. But everything's been positive when we played the new stuff, especially at the festival over there. The Full Metal Osthosen festival that we played at over there, the response to the new stuff was amazing. So I guess we're doing something right. I don't know.
You definitely are. Will the band be backing this album up with any shows, possibly tours, anything?
Well, we toured over there in March. We were in Germany and the Netherlands in March. We just played a show a month and a half ago, and then 2 weeks after that, locally in Youngstown out here. And that was a rough one. I've got a pinched nerve in my back. Actually, first time I've ever had to sit on a stool on stage to play. Could barely move, and it was rough. I'm actually getting this fixed next Mondays because it's miserable time for me.
Mhm.
But we'll be booking more shows for sure, and I've already have almost an entire new album written. So yeah, trying to keep moving, man. I'm getting old, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to do this stuff. So, I'm falling apart. My back's messed up. Man, it
Yeah,
stinks. But at
that's
least
just how it is.
the hands still work, and this thing's still putting out new music. So, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think I only need to write one more song, and I'll have a full album's worth of material.
We'll be talking about that in time to come, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try. I mean, my plan is, like I said, I have everything because again, my situation is very easy now since I have the studio here. I can walk down my stairs in the basement, plug in my guitar, turn on the software, and start recording. It's very easy. So
Mm.
it makes me more productive than it used to be back when I didn't have my own studio. You know, it's just way easier for me to just plug in and go, "Ooh, okay, I've got this rhythm idea. Boom, oh, I got an intro. I all of a sudden I hear harmonies. I start layering harmonies. By the time, literally, for me to write a song from start to finish, it's usually about a half hour and it's done.
Wow, that's very impressive. So finally, how much time are you able to devote to Wretch at this point in your life?
It really is up to, I don't want to say me. Um, I would be willing to play out once a month. The problem is our location, the Cleveland scene is not what it used to be as far as metal goes. Um, so it's how much can you play out, you know? You're only going to do if you're doing all original metal and we're power metal, which is even a narrower band of metal. Um, if you play out too much around here, it's hard enough to get people to come out. If you play out once a month, I think people would get sick and tired of seeing you because you can only play so many songs from your albums, rotate them through. Um, but we'll stay as relevant as we can. I think on everybody's end, I think everybody's okay with, say, playing out once every 3 months, you know. But our main thing is to go to Europe and play. We do really well there. The stuff seems to go over well more over there. I don't know if the power metal thing here. You're close to Chicago. I haven't been able to get us over there on any of those festivals for years. I
Mhm.
can't tell you the last time we played in Chicago. I know we played at Reggie's, but I don't even remember what festival it was.
Got it.
And that was when Ron was still in the band
Uh-huh.
for the Warriors album. That's how long ago that was.
That is a long time
I've
ago.
talked to those guys, the same promoters. I can't get them to bite. They don't seem interested in having us. So I can't force myself to get over there, and I don't know enough guys, not only there but anywhere else in this country, to get us on any kind of shows or festivals. So we play locally, up in Cleveland. There's a place, like I said, I'm in Warren, Ohio. Youngstown's about 20 minutes. There's a couple places in there that we can go play. I'm about an hour and 15 minutes from Pittsburgh. The problem with Pittsburgh is I don't have any connections in Pittsburgh. I don't know any of the clubs. I don't know any of the club owners or booking guys. So I really don't have a way to get into those places. There's a couple clubs that I know have metal bands that come through. No, I wouldn't mind being on an opening spot for one of them, but I just don't have any connections there. So it's hard for me to get on any of those shows.
It's a struggle.
It's a
It's a
very
struggle.
big struggle, and it's that's why we don't play out much.
Yeah,
That's why everybody's in other bands to stay active.
makes sense.
That's what we do. It's just so as long as we can keep playing, and even if it's a copy band, at least you're playing because this band just doesn't, the opportunities aren't there for us to do much. Um, so I know we're playing, if I'm not mistaken, next year in Brooklyn, New York. I think in September, but that's a year away,
That's right.
you know?
Nick, thank you so much for this very interesting and informative chat about Wretch, and keep the passion going.
Oh, always, man. I appreciate your support too. Thank you for everything. Last time I saw you was at that Armageddon Festival, wasn't it?
Correct.
Right. See, and we were supposed to play there in September, and something happened with Juan. We had to cancel the day before we were supposed to play. And it was terrible. I was like, oh, we were so looking forward to playing that. So we're playing there again next year. Because he said, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll put you on next year. He had already said he was going to have the festival again next year. So he's got us booked for next year. But again, see, that's what I'm talking about. It's just everything's so spread out. There's just not a lot for us to do. So we try to play when we can, and I just try to keep writing to try and keep us moving forward.
Thank you, Nick.
I appreciate it, brother. I will see you soon.